Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Vanderbilt Law Professor Brian Fitzpatrick. We're talking about all the controversy currently about the U.S. Supreme Court and the new nominee there. Dr. Fitzpatrick, one of the things that was interesting, you mentioned that Mitch McConnell said he leaves no appointment left unfilled, but there was one back in 2016 after Justice Scalia died when Barack Obama nominated Merrick Garland, and the Senate Republicans even refused to hold hearings on his confirmation. They said that should be up to the people. Well, now we've had 4 million, 5 million people who've already voted. We have this another election coming up, this other appointment coming up during an election year. Aren't the Republicans being a little hypocritical about not wanting to get this taken care of? They didn't want to do it 4 years ago. Now suddenly they're in a big rush to get it done before the election.
They're being very hypocritical. And I'm sorry to say that, but the truth of the matter is both parties have been very hypocritical to one another over the last 35 years when it comes to judicial nominations. There's just been one dirty trick after another that the parties have used against each other. You know, the Democrats filibustered presidential nominees from the Republicans, and then when they got into power, they got rid of the filibuster. And so it just, it's gone back and forth, and I think we are getting close to hitting rock bottom. What the Republicans did to Merrick Garland, not even giving him a hearing, was wrong. They treated him without the respect that someone as talented and accomplished as he was deserved to be treated with. And, you know, it's just indefensible, but it's understandable because, you know, judicial nominations have been very dirty for many, many decades. A lot of Republicans are still mad about what happened to Robert Bork, Clarence Thomas, Brett Kavanaugh. And, you know, this is payback for a lot of Republicans.
If Judge Barrett is confirmed, there will be a 6-3 conservative majority on the court, it appears, on many issues, including perhaps on Obamacare. There is a pending decision before the Supreme Court, a case that's going to be argued right after the election. That's going to be one of the things the Democrats particularly are going to talk about. Do you think their strategy is going to be to use the hearings to gin up their voters, not necessarily to attack the nominee?
Well, absolutely. I mean, these confirmation hearings are really all about getting your constituents worked up so that they will give you money and go out to the polls. And I think, you know, health care is going to be the issue. They try to use the hearings to impress voters with. I have to be entirely frank with you, though. I think this Affordable Care Act case is a real red herring. Judge Barrett has intimated that she agreed that the individual mandate was unconstitutional. But that is not the issue that's before the court this coming term. The issue is, now that the individual mandate does not have a tax associated with it anymore, is it now unconstitutional? Most people think it probably has to be. The real question is the individual mandate severable from the rest of the law? That is an entirely different question. It's a question of statutory interpretation. It has nothing to do with the constitutionality of the individual mandate that she has discussed.
Another issue that's going to be...
I don't think... Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another issue that's going to be a big one for her when this comes up, because during her earlier appointments to the appellate court, she told senators that she considered the Roe v. Wade abortion decision to be settled law. But now there's an ad that has surfaced that did not come up during her confirmation before, that she signed a letter in that basically said that Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided and should be overturned. And that's a quote. She's going to be asked about what her real position is on this. And this is very important because this is probably even a more incendiary issue than Obamacare.
Now, this is not a red herring. This is a legitimate line of inquiry and concern, I think, for people that support abortion rights. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that Judge Coney Barrett thinks that Roe v. Wade was a bad Supreme Court decision. All originalists like myself, like Justice Scalia, think it's a bad decision. It's made up.
But she didn't say that. But she didn't say that during her appellate confirmation hearing. She said it was settled law.
It is settled law. If you're a lower court nominee, it's a Supreme Court precedent you have to follow. But it's different if you're a Supreme Court justice. You're allowed to overturn even settled laws. And that's the real question, is what's her view of stare decisis? Does she take the view that this is something that could be overruled for various reasons, or does she think this is something that should not be overruled? She's not going to tell us the answer to that question. I'm not sure if she knows in her own mind what she would do.
There are other hot button issues. It was a 6-3 majority for the conservatives on the court. What's going to happen, do you think, with her on the court with the right for gay marriage? Is it at risk? What about discrimination protections for the LGBT community? Lots of other things that are coming up. Do you think we're going to see a major shift in the court, perhaps rather quickly in the next couple of years?
I think it is unlikely that cases that gave gays the rights to get married are going to be overruled. Even though those cases are just as suspect from an originalist perspective as the right to an abortion is, it's very hard to take marriage away from people who are already married. It's very hard to grandfather in some gays who are married and say other gays cannot get married. It's too much of a mess. And so I don't think there's going to be any stomach on the part of the conservatives to overrule those precedents. I think those precedents are much safer than the abortion precedent. Vanderbilt Law School professor Brian Fitzpatrick's our guest. We're talking about the Supreme Court and the pending nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. After this break, we'll come back and talk more to the professor. Stay with us.